summary of our session today. In case any one of you want to refer back to it, use it, want to share it with anyone within your colleagues, or want to reflect on it yourself again, I hope that is acceptable for you. Now, before I start officially, I want to ask you, Maya, Nesma, anything that you'd like to address the scholars with, since everyone came together before I start? Nesma, you're good, no?
No,
okay.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, then first of all, a big thank you for carving out 60 minutes of your time today to come together for that session. I could imagine there's a lot going on in the middle of the week, and you coming together. So I want to thank you for that. What I'd also like to do, and I hope that is all right for you, I'm going to use some visual background. I'm going to use some visual background to guide us through our session today. Now, why do we see the mountains here? Because all of us, we probably haven't traveled in a long time. So I thought of just giving it kind of a change of scenery. And we're going to look at it in a second again, because together we will climb some of these mountains today. But very briefly, for those of you who didn't meet me before, because I know some of you attended a webinar last year, to make it quick and easy. So my name is Daniel, originally from a city called Dresden, that is in Germany. And I live and work from Dubai. So Daniel, Dresden, Dubai, Triple D, that's easy to remember. My career, I spent 15 years in hospitality and tourism, 6 years, and since the past 6 years, I've done business development and sales, predominantly in the Middle East and Africa, but throughout the time, really traveled between A for Algeria or Z for Zurich. And the reason why I'm saying that is some of the frameworks that I want to share with you today, they sometimes sound good in theory, but I also want to share some of it with you. How can you apply it in practice? All right. Now, before we do that, I would like to continue our introduction, and I want to ask you if you can use your phones, please. Yes, the phone. And I know usually during the webinar, you're probably asked not to use them, but today I'd like you to use it. If you can please scan that QR code that you see in front of you on the screen. There's this QR code. If you can scan it, in case you can't scan it, in case you prefer to go to your browser or to type it on your computer, if you can type menti.com, you see it on the screen, if you can type there menti.com in your browser, and it will ask you for a PIN, and the PIN is the 1473714. Now, once you're getting into Mentimeter, when you scan the QR code, if I can ask you to press the heart, please, because then I could see whether you are online and if everything is working. I'm going to shift the screens right now, so you will see something different on your screen in a second. And I want to ask very briefly, is there any one of you who may need help? I can see 11 of us are on already, 11 out of 20. Any one of you needs any help?
So simply just showing the heart, and just keep showing the heart.
Okay, that's good, yes, because so you are in there, Mohammed, that's the right thing. And we are waiting for everyone to come in before I come with the first question. We are 14 now. So Mohammed, if you see the new screen on your phone with the heart, you're in the right place. Thank you, Mohammed.
Okay, dann muss ich nur warten drauf. Dann muss ich nur drauf, dann muss ich nur drauf warten.
Du musst drauf warten.
Aha, okay.
Auf wen musst du warten?
Nein, ist okay. Nur das Herz wurde gedruckt, aber es ist okay. Es gibt noch nichts, aber ist okay. Ja, okay, danke schön. Nein, noch nicht.
If you try it, otherwise you type in your browser on your phone menti.com.
No, okay, it works now.
It works.
Okay. Okay, danke schön.
Oh, you're welcome. Bitte sehr. Mohammed speaks German better than me, so Mohammed, well done. All right, we are
thank you.
16 of us. Anyone needs any help? All right, and I'm going to start with the first question. For those of you who may join in a little later, you can do that. They can do that a little later. All right. So I'm going to help you and go and stand by. So be ready for the first question for our introduction, please. If you look back the last 12 months, what's been your biggest learning? If you look back and so many changes that happened, that we had to change the way how you study, the way how you work, the way how you live. What's your biggest learning? I can see rapid contributions there, dear team. Thank you for that. Coding, wow, all right. Coding, agility, priorities, resilience, virtual collaboration, excellent. As everyone is joining and still contributing their ideas. Alex, thank you for joining us. Alexandra, good afternoon. What we do, Alexandra, we do an introduction in virtual fashion. And if you can still join us, Alexandra. The easiest way is if in your browser, and I'm typing it quickly in the chat box, you go on menti.com. And from there, if you wanted to put the pin, the 1473714, you can join us in that process. All right. Okay. Now I'm seeing some great points here from work-life study balance. I see the marketing, the resilience, being patient, content creation. So lots of development taking place. Excellent. Is any one of you who would like to highlight her or his point that you have made? You're learning. Any one of you would like to highlight her or his point? Okay, nice reflection. I'm going to share that with you at the end of our session. I wanted to ask you something else. As far as presentations are concerned, what's your biggest struggle? The reason for the question is because when we spoke with Maya prior to today's webinar, she told me that one of the things you want to learn about is presentations. How can we improve our leadership and presentation? So if we think of that, what would be your biggest struggle? What is it that is holding you back from making even better presentations, from making them better that you would want them to be? What is your biggest struggle in presentations? Fear of doing a mistake, the virtual, engaging, confidence, keeping the audience interested, absolutely. I'm seeing fluency of ideas, losing information, engaging, not speaking too fast. So I can see the engagement piece is going very high. Yes, confidence, fear, the Zoom and virtual aspect of it. Yes, sorry. Someone of you wanted to say something? Okay. We had two of you joined us just now. So for those of you who joined us just now, very briefly, you can still join the effort together. If you go in your browser, in the browser of your phone, those of you who made it now and came in, and go in your browser of your phone and put in menti.com, the message that is in the chat, menti.com. And thank you, Nesma. Okay. All right. So for those who joined us now, you can still contribute to our introduction and brainstorming here. Now, if we look at these struggles, overthinking, fear, public speaking, lots of areas, the reason for asking is I'm going to try to address some of them today. Next question is the following. If you are the audience, imagine you're not the presenter, if you are the audience, like today, what is it that you expect from a good presentation? What is it that you expect from a good presentation to make it worthwhile your time? Put yourself in the role of the audience, people that you are presenting to potentially. If you were one of them, what do you expect? What do you expect so that it's worth your time? Meaningful, something new, interaction, simple, engaged. Fantastic, because here you're overcoming the first step already. Because if you think of it, the people that sit in your audience, regardless where it is, at work, at university, clients, colleagues, anyone, have similar expectations like you when you do presentation. If they attend a presentation, they want to have quality, like you say. They would want to have it simple. They want it engaging. They want to be involved if they spend the time in it. They want to have attractive, good insights, clarity, well organized. All right. So what you put together here, dear team, you did already almost your to-do list or your priority list that when you do presentations. All right. So what we're going to do today is we're trying to address some of these aspects and how can you achieve meaningfulness, how can you create engagement, how can you make it valuable. And with that, allow me please one last question before we dive in, and it's my turn to present, and that is 2021 ahead of us, the year of the ox. If you could put your 2021 vision in one word and one emoji, what would that be? If you could put your 2021 in one word and one emoji, what would that be? All right, there's the flower, the star, the rocket. There's money. Okay, who submitted the cash? Who submitted the money?
That was me. It's Nisma.
That was you, Nesma. Okay, at least you're honest. Excellent. Thank you. All right, we want success, energy, ambition. I see a lot of strength there. What's that? Is that working out? Perseverance, want to be mindful. Who submitted the star? What does the star mean? What does the star stand for? Star, good luck. Maybe, Mohammed, yeah. Ambition, action. All right. Whilst I let you carry, there's a trophy. We want victory. Hope. Okay, excellent. I'm going to save that slide eventually, and I'm going to share it with you in the summary of today's session. But before doing that, I'd like to take you back on where we came from on our session right now, all right? And we're diving right in on the subject of, and hang on, I'll quickly change the display. All right, here we go. And we're diving right into our subject of presentation and leadership. Now, when we started earlier and we looked together at these mountains, the reason why I started with the mountains is because together we are climbing 4 of these mountain tops today. We are starting to talk about new work. We're starting to talk about new work. We're talking about what winners do differently. And we're also looking into, we're going to look into what winners do differently. We're carrying on to present with impact and how can we succeed virtually. And in order to succeed virtually, I have to quickly update the presentation format. If you bear with me for 1 second only, please. It's in order not for you to see the other slides. Okay, if you give me 1 second, please. And we should have the right slide in a second. All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, no, not yet. All right, here we go. Thank you for bearing with me. So when we started with our 4 mountaintops and we carried on with that. And the idea is that if we imagine for today's session on presentation, how can we climb these 4 mountains together? New work, what winners do differently, presenting with impact, and succeed in all of this in a virtual environment. Now, there's been a seismic change if we look into 2020. And the reason I ask you, what were your learnings? And you put that you did coding, you became more agile, perseverance, more patient. So if I can ask you, what has changed for you? What has changed from you in the way how you work, or how you study, how you learn, how you're in touch? And you can either put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself or raise a hand, or yeah, you unmute yourself. You're small enough a group to do that. So when I ask you, what has changed for you? What were your biggest changes? What has changed for you? The way how you work or study?
Hello?
Yes, Mohammed, we hear you. What has changed for you?
The biggest change I would say is I became more adaptive, more resilient, especially after the, unexpected changes. Now I'm more prepared for stuff that is just not expected, you know, got used to change.
Okay, and how concrete do you apply that moment? This kind of change, this adaptability, flexibility to change. How did you apply it so far? How and where did you apply it?
I'm applying it in my study because I'm currently a student and I work as a research assistant. So I try to be flexible in the ways that I do my work, the places that I do my work, and even time, because usually I do my work early in the morning, but I got used to do it late at night because sometimes you have to do those extra hours that I didn't used to do back before the pandemic, before the, yeah.
Excellent. And you brought in a fantastic example, Mohammed, of flexibility or agility. You do it from anywhere right now, depending on when is a good time and are you in a good state of mind to execute the right one. Mohammed, thank you for that. Anyone else of you for whom anything has changed and who would like to share it with the group?
Hi, this is Faraz speaking, and I want to add something.
Yeah, please.
I think the one thing that changed for me is after the pandemic and working from home situation, I became more aware about my environment and what sort of how to design my surroundings to be conducive for work, because I realized it was very difficult to work from a bedroom or a living room. But if we design the environment, we become more conscious about how to be more productive, because sometimes we take the office for granted because it's a place of productivity. That's changed for me. I'm becoming more aware about my needs to be more productive.
And the example, Faraz, thank you for that. It is going in a similar direction what Mohammed is saying, but by designing the environment, you make it easier for you to avoid any kind of distractions that could possibly hold you back. Faraz, nice example, thank you. The reason why I wanted to ask that question is, there's this term out there, new work. And if we look at what has changed or what got accelerated based on the fact that we suddenly had to work from home or work from anywhere. And if you look into traditional ways of management, the reason why I want to share it with you, dear team, because you asked about leadership. You asked about leadership. And what I thought is, it would be good for us to look at what is the current working environment out there? And based on that working environment, how could we succeed for the people we work with and for ourselves? And if you look at really, it is all about flexibility. It's about the adaptability. There are the examples that you mentioned. Shared purpose, and a big part, and I want to highlight that a little later, a big part is in the end of the slide when you look at the collaboration aspect, collaboration and community. So if you look at these are the factors that determine new work. In brief summary, then the question is, what is it that winners do differently? Because you want to be winners. So if I ask you that question, if I can quickly invite you for a mini poll that is going to appear on the screen in a second, and it's the following. When you're seeing on your screen a poll right now with 5 attributes, all right? And the attributes is connecting, educating, collaboration, persuasion. What do you think is it that winners out there do differently? All of these 5 you need, but which is the one thing that differentiates the winners from the rest? Not that differentiates the winners from the losers, no, but that differentiates the winners from the rest. What's the biggest differentiator out there? If you think of this new environment that we just looked at, the flexibility, the agility, the collaboration, the community sense, what is the one attribute that differentiates winners from the rest among these 5? I give you another 5 seconds for those of you who haven't had a chance yet to click submit their vote. We are at a 76% participation rate. That is not the highest that I've ever seen. So those of you who haven't had submitted their vote yet, there's an opportunity. We are at 20 out of 25, 80%. That's a good start. For those who didn't do this time, we have a few more of those coming in a second. 21, excellent. 84% participation rate. Great, dear team. If I share the results with you, here's where we stand. Majority of you thinks collaborate. Closely followed by educate, connecting personally and achieving results. Can I quickly see a raise of hand or thumbs up? Who's in the collaborate camp? Who's one of the collaborators among you? Okay, I see Nesma, I see Hala, Jakub, I see 3 out of 8 there. 3 out of 8 collaborators. All right, okay. 1, 2, 3. All right, now let's take a look. Let's take a look on what the research said, all right? I stop this share, we take a look at the research. And here's the research that we have done. Now, what's the interesting point is that we put 10 attributes there together, and we did our research with buyers, with clients out there. And we say, what is it that you're looking for? And all of these 10 that you see here are important. If one is not there, it's not working. But the biggest differentiator in business that sets winners apart from the rest is to continuously educate with new ideas. It is to continuously educate with new ideas and perspectives. So what that means, if you look at that, to continuously educate, these are the ones that provide new insights. These are the ones who provide new insights. Now, in order to provide new insights, that means we have to do effort. We have to produce these insights. We have to continuously learn, study, growth mindset in order to share that. The second one, and you were absolutely amazing there, dear team, so the majority of you was right there. Collaboration. People want to be involved. When we read the new environment, the new work, it's about community. It's because people are involved. They have a stake in it. They are involved and they can shape the results, the outcomes that the business or the organization that you're in will shape eventually. But they also want to be sure that whatever they do or get involved in, they achieve the results. Now, why did I share these 10 attributes with you now? Because if you think of leadership, and there are so many books and literature out there that I didn't want to go in here right now because you've seen and read so many things perhaps about it already. But what I thought of sharing with you, what's the environment that we are in? And if we wanted to lead, if you want to influence and inspire, then the top 3 things that will set you apart from anyone else is how much do you educate with new ideas that, and I add something else here, new ideas that matter. How much do you collaborate, you share, you bring people on board? And how much do you persuade them that people can achieve results by joining in? Dear team, before I carry on, any one of you has any questions so far? Anyone any questions so far? I'm adding crazy. Okay. Chris, I will mute you quickly. All right. We had a little background noise there. And I'm seeing clear, Hala. Okay, Abed. Okay, thank you for your communication in the chat. Clear. Okay, got that. Thank you. All right. So if that is all clear, then I'm carrying on. So the most important part is that we see the best are 3 times more likely to succeed are those that educate with new ideas. And carrying on, the best are also 2 times 8 more likely to collaborate. So the top performers out there, they educate and they collaborate. They bring, if you want to take it now, both to your leadership, to your organizations, wherever you work. Doesn't matter what your role or designation is, but involve people, your peers, your leaders, your subordinates, bring them on board early. And when you bring them on board early, they have psychological ownership in the idea. And when that is there, it's more likely they will support it. Right? So collaborate and inspire. Now, looking at your presentation, subject was your presentation. You said earlier, what are our struggles? Now, struggles are, how do I do it virtually? How can I make it relevant? The confidence that we have. Speaking in front of several people, let's speak about some of these aspects. Because one thing is true, that it is very hard to engage and get access. Getting access because you have to somehow cut through the noise and have to help people understand what are real news out there. So if you think we want to educate with new ideas, but people are busy, People are busy, people are under pressure. So you want to make sure that people see and can differentiate between what is news and what is noise. So you have to differentiate your impact and how you educate from all the noise out there. And how can you do that? That's the first tool I want to share with you today. And that is, I want to call it, your presentation is, it's not your presentation. This is your value proposition. That is your value proposition to your audience. Now, why would I say that? Why would I say this is your value proposition? Hala, you're raising your hand. Oh, sorry, Mohammed, go ahead. Yeah.
No, so just want to say is the following, because simply they're just presenting to the people. So simply they are just allocating time for you compared to other things. So simply you're just somehow selling them something in exchange for their time. That's the thing.
All right, so that is, so you have to give them something for the time that they invest. Excellent. All right, so we have to be mindful. We have to be mindful on for their time that they put in. Okay, thank you. Hala, I think you raised your hand too. I'm sorry for asking a little late. Hala, anything you wanted to mention towards the, with regards to the value proposition?
Basically, it's what you bring to the table. So and especially now, like the biggest challenge with presentation, that you need to cut the attention of the audience, who's, just like you said, distracted most of the time because of the noise, because of the stress, because of the pandemic, because of the crisis everywhere. So everyone's so busy. Getting people engaged is even harder. Like, I mean, everyone can participate, but not everyone will be engaged. So how can you engage everyone, even if you don't have eye contact, if you have people with camera off, with microphone off? So that's the biggest challenge. And then this is how your presentation will be tailored to cater the people or the audience who is attending your. So what you will bring to the table, that's.
Hala, I love it. Excellent. I mean, so many aspects that you added here. And I tried to capture some of it on the slide, Hala, and then dear audience, to get the attention. And once you got the attention, how do you keep everyone engaged over 30, 45, 60, 90 minutes? Because the temptation, play with the phone or do anything else, is so high in this remote environment. Hala, thank you so much for that. And I see Jakub, you raised your hand. Jakub, is there anything you wanted to add to that subject, Jakub?
Yes, sir. When it comes to value proposition, I do believe that our presentation should have an added value in the audience's life. So the reason we're attending today is to learn these presentation skills, and this is the added value. This is what's keeping us concentrated. And as long as there is this added value in a presentation, even if the temptations are there, the audience is going to try to focus. And that's important.
Excellent, Jakub. This added value that you have to bring in exchange for the time investment. And this added value you have to communicate well in advance in order to get this commitment from your audience to accept, to show up, and to stay around also. Nice one. I see, Mohammed, did you raise your hand on that subject, or is it still up from earlier?
So it's the one from earlier, but there is something also just to talk about. So the thing is, the following, it's sort of competing things. So if you just think about it from the business way, so just people are just working then, and they're just introducing different things. So the thing is, the same way people are just competing for the customer's money, that's the thing. They're just allocating time, effort, and time for this. So simply you need to compete with the other things so people can just pay attention to you.
Excellent. And what I'd like to take down, or what I want to note down, one word that you brought in there, and it is the competition. And I don't really want to go into the money part of it, but really it could be, but competition first and foremost for the attention, for the attention and time. And dear team, thank you for bringing it so much in perspective and for relating why your presentation is a value proposition. So what I want to share with you, the first tool for today, all right? The first tool for today is if we look at value message. And very often the value message is being defined as a collection of reasons why people buy. So it's often defined as a collection of reasons why people buy, but it is also a collection of reasons why people say yes for meeting with you. It is also the reason or the collection of reasons why people accept your meeting request, why they would show up. And shall I take it a step further? It is also a collection of reasons why anyone would open an email from you and even read it, and ideally even respond. So you could say a value message is the collection of reasons that makes your audience take action. And that's hard. Now I want to share with you how could we structure this value message. And I'm making that relatively brief given the time we have today. But I want us to understand the concept behind. So if we think of value proposition, I want us to think of this stool. The stool with the 3 legs. Why? Because what would happen if one leg is not there out of this 3-leg bar stool? If one leg is missing, what's happening? The whole table falls. Thank you, Mohammed. Excellent. It falls down. Yes, Mohammed. Thank you. So if one leg is missing, it will fall down. It won't stand. Exactly. So it's same with our value proposition. It consists of 3 legs. And if one is missing, the value proposition will not work. Now let's start. If we think of our value proposition, and I told you it's the collection of reasons. So I've got good news for you, because when I say collection of reasons, there is 4 reasons. There's 4 reasons that people will ask themselves if they should go for it or not. Let's start. First 2. First 2 reasons are why act and why now. So what we have to do first is we have to resonate, the first leg. When I say resonate, it means we have to create relevance. And if you create relevance, then you get, what Hala said earlier, you get the attention. So you have to create resonance. So it has to be anything, not that you want to communicate. No, it has to be anything that is priority on your audience mind. Number 1. Number 2, remember how we said earlier, people are under pressure, people have so much to do. It might be of interest for them, but it will not make it on the priority. Not today, not this week, not next month, and the new things will pile up. Eventually, it will never make it. Unless you create one thing. What do you need to create? You created relevance, and what's the second thing you have to create? What's the second thing you need to create?
Urgency.
Which one was that? Say again, please.
Urgency.
Urgency. Yes, absolutely. The demand, Mohammed, you create already with the resonate to an extent, but not yet the desire. Demand, all right, you relate to that. We need what you're talking about. It's important to us, but not important enough to make it a priority. You have to add urgency, and that's not easy. So your audience has to see, why should I open that email now? Why should I accept the meeting with you this week? What's in it for me? What is the outcome for me when I read the email, when I respond to this email, when I accept your LinkedIn invite, or if I attend a meeting with you? So the urgency, and the more appealing that it is, the more likely it will become urgent. Once you have done that, you need to differentiate. Mohammed, you wanted to ask a question?
No, I think I just want to say something. So that's also one thing of the value, because simply, for example, if you're just doing whatever, you're just showing the people, for example, today, and simply this could be one of the different attributes that simply whether they consider or accept it or not, because simply if you're just showing them today, simply there are a lot of things to do. But maybe just if it comes tomorrow, then simply they may be more likely to accept it. But simply if the urgency somehow it somehow makes them consider it or not. So I think it's sort of an attribute just to do it with one of the attributes just to calculate the value for this.
I like this link that you have done. I like this link that you have done to the 10 attributes. And once I will complete the share, I'm going to share probably back to these 10 attributes where they apply. But great point. Thank you for that. And there's a third leg. So once we resonate, we create relevance, we get attention, we drive urgency, and then your audience know why they should listen to you and not to any other of these so many webinars or emails or calls that are coming in. What sets you apart? What is it that you bring to the table? Earlier you called it, what do we bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? What others don't? And third, once you have all done all that, you need to substantiate. Now, not an easy word, but easy to remember that it comes from the word substance. In other words, we have to prove that what we claim is true. We have to prove that what we claim we can bring to the table is true. Any example on how you in your day-to-day business, where you work in an engineering firm, in a hospital, in your studies, in your day-to-day, how could you substantiate? Any example, anyone?
Sir, I'm thinking maybe previous products, previous experiences.
Previous experience, all right. Okay, Jakub. And do you have a specific example there?
I'm thinking, for example, if I were to hire a designer, for example.
Yes.
I would trust the designer if I saw the designer's previous experience, previous works.
Portfolio.
All right. So, okay, yeah, there was someone else who just spoke right after you, Jakub, right? I heard another voice.
Yeah, it was just me saying portfolio of a designer, probably.
Okay, excellent.
Or maybe like a demonstration or a pilot testing for whatever, yeah.
And even if you have previous work, if I can add to that, prototype, Abdullah, thank you. Faraz, I see qualifications. Faraz, fantastic. Your qualifications could be the actual certificates that prove what degree you have. Excellent one. Chris, I see the experience there, Chris, thank you. And the experience could be highlighted in how many years. Now, here's the big point about it. When we look at, and maybe I kept the notes. So if we look at that and we see substantiate, we have the long list. The reason why this framework is so important, because intuitive, we tend to speak about that first, because that's easy. I have this and this experience, I can do this and this and this, I've worked with this and this clients. Can we do business? Or do you want to work with me? But clients are not interested in that, not yet. Because the secret is that first you have to speak their language and then they understand you. First speak their language and then they understand you. And speaking their language is what's their priority, what matters to them, what is new to them. And that is where you educate with new ideas and where you show them how you achieve results together with them and then why you can do it. Now, the hardest part is resonate, and that is really where you're focusing on. And the substantiate you build on, the substantiate you eventually build on over time. Now, if we look at that together, and if I can ask you at this framework, and I'm going to share another poll with you, and we did that in a quick one now. If I ask you these 4 questions now, between why act, why now, why us, and why trust, which one do you think do you find most challenging for you? All right, we have 16 of us, 17, 62%. Earlier we were at 80%. I mean, we have to have at least 80, if not more. Jakub, I saw you raise your hand. We take a look at this at the poll, and then I'm going to ask you to contribute your question or what you wanted to share, if that's all right. We are at 66% now. We had 70%, 19 out of 27 shared their struggle. Why? Okay, we are 85%. Excellent. All right, new record for us. Interesting. The one that is most challenging for you, the majority of you, the one that is most challenging, and to share that with you briefly, is the why trust piece. Why trust being the most challenging, closely followed by ask, me, and act. All right, let me quickly ask, why do I trust? Who's in the why trust camp? Who is in the why trust team? What is the biggest struggle here?
So I think this one just somehow combines everything. So that's the thing, because simply you're just presenting something for the people. They just simply need to, you're just telling them sort of a piece of information. So what happens is that simply it collects everything. First of all, so why act? Why should they trust you? And then they act. Why now? Why should they trust you? And then simply they should be doing it right now. Why? So simply why should they trust you from the beginning? And then why trust for why trust? So I think it covers everything.
Yeah, it does. It backs everything up. It backs everything up. So the trust, if you're not managing to answer this question, why trust? You know what your audience will say? They will say, I get your point. I like what you're saying, but I can't risk it. They are not certain. And today, with so much uncertainty around, what you have to produce, what you have to create is certainty. And what you create with substantiate, you create certainty. So that is the big... Yeah,
just one thing, if you don't mind. So simply let's give it an example. So if you're just somehow going and then talking about the Scrum, for example, to a company or corporation, this simply just taking them or just for them just adopt Scrum, this would mean for them just spending millions of dollars. So that's the thing. So for example, that trust, that's the main thing that need to be built first with the company. So simply they can take the risk to do so. So that would be the most tiring thing. Because simply all of those things can be just communicated. So why to act, why now, and why everything. So, but simply, why should they trust this piece of information and start working on it and start considering versus the risks? This simply would be the main thing that simply they might need just people to simply just to build the trust with the people.
All right, Mohammed, thank you for that. We took note of that. I see there's Isam and Hala. Isam, you want to go first, and then Hala, is that all right?
Okay, thank you. I think that trust is last because first we need the customer to buy in before asking us if we can do or not. We have to show the action and why this action. Then he will ask us if you can do it or not. Can I trust you or not? First, we need to ensure that he buy the idea before asking why he has to trust us.
All right, and I like there's a big point over what Isam was saying. Isam, thank you for that. I highlight, because when you look at trust, there's 4 elements of trust that clients have to trust before they will proceed for people. They want to trust you as a person. If you are representing a company, they want to trust the brand or the company. They want to trust the product or the solution. And the last one that's forgotten so often, they want to trust the result. What is the actual outcome for me? And it doesn't have to be selling and buying. That can be you are asking someone to become part of a team, to join an initiative. What's the effect of that? Remember, one of the top 10 attributes was persuade me to achieve results. Great point, Isam. Thank you. Hala, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say, in addition to what has been said, there's only the part where you want to, like, most of the audience has had bad experience. So you have first to kind of build this. You have to make twice the effort, so you can convince them that you will do it differently. Let's take the example of, let's say, a presentation and a training. For example, if you're inviting people to attend a certain training and the audience has already attended a similar training and they had bad experience with a trainer or with the content, they were not able to learn anything new. So then they come to the training already with low expectations. So then this is frustrating for the presenter, and then we have to take this into consideration. So yeah, that's why I said, so I'll link it back to what I said previously, what you will bring to the table. So
and the point that you say about the negative experience, I wrote it kind of in the middle down there, Hala, for the one reason, because bad experience could have an impact on everything, on how do you resonate, how could you differentiate, and the substantiation, as long as you know that there was a negative experience. And there, the point that goes to that one is the following: how important is that you do your preparation, that you prepare well enough in order to know what is the expectation. Jakub, you do your question very quick. I'm just conscious of all of your time, Jakub. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to add I wanted to add just one last thing and then ask my very quick question. Trust is also very expensive. I think this is why trust is, like, gaining the trust of the customer is the most difficult part. It's because trust is expensive. And my question was, I noticed in the slides you've mentioned that we tease trust. Why do you think this is the better strategy rather than full on convincing people that we are the right people?
Thank you for asking. The teasing here is the following. The teasing is because when we look back and how we presented earlier, how do you substantiate? And where did we take the note? How do we substantiate? We say your previous experience, your portfolio, your clients, testimonial. It's all about you. And teasing is because the presentation is not about you. The presentation is about your audience and what you can do for them. But you have to back it up with why you can do it and that you can do it. So teasing, meaning when needed, you can give bite by bite. So you could resonate and differentiate, and maybe in that moment you can substantiate it with a concrete testimonial. But do not come with a long list of how great you are. That is the reason on teasing here. Okay, Jakub? Does it make sense?
Yes, sir, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Now we are on all of that, and we see the presentations already hard enough in a face-to-face environment. And now what happens? We have to do it all virtually. We have to do it all virtually, where we are not seeing the reactions, the body language, if it's clear or not clear, where there's so many inviting distractions for your audience. How do we succeed virtually? And if we look at that, how we wanted to do that virtually, we have to be conscious of the fact that there's one thing, that there has been 163% increase in meetings. But I want to tell you something else. Whilst we talk all on Zoom and WebEx and Teams today, at the same time, you have the CEOs of Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan saying they want their people to come back to the office as soon as possible. We see Hala is in her office today. So what I'm saying here is about presentation is the following. These virtual skills that I'm touching on now, they are important. But the future is not going to be only virtual. But your audience, they became more selective. They know for what kind of presentation do they have to make the effort to either come to you or have to get ready to invite you in, and what kind of presentation they all write on a screen. In other words, you have to master both. That's really the message. Now, we've done a research and we looked, what are the challenges out there? And I called it here the challenges of the presenters. In our case with Rain Group, when we did the research, these are the challenges of the salespeople. And salespeople, you are supposed to present frequently and be relatively good in that. What are their top 3 challenges? Number 1, And you said it earlier, getting their attention and keeping people engaged. 91% struggled with that. Number two was changing the point of view of the audience. Now we call it your buyer, but you're selling ideas when you're on a meeting or on an email. You want to convince, you want to bring people on board. Changing someone's point of view virtually to influence is harder. And challenge number four, look at that. Challenge number four is really building relationships. So if we think of that, trust, rapport, like-mindedness, how hard it is. And if we think of why did they become so hard in a face-to-face environment, we would have had, especially in Middle East and Africa, in our part of the world, you would have had coffees, or in Malaysia, you have a tea, you have lunches, you have meals, you connect. But virtual, that can be very transactional. Now let's, Mohammed, is it urgent or shall I quickly go into the audience side and then we do your question? What do you prefer?
No, it's not urgent. No. Please
okay, let's quickly take a look at the other side and perhaps then we answer the question. Is that all right? Yeah, okay.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So these are the top 3 challenges of the presenters. So the good news is you're not alone. When you said earlier in your Mentimeter saying, it's how do I do it on Zoom? How do I engage? Confidence, everyone else, you are not alone. Now let's take a look on the other side. Let's take a look at the audience. What are their priorities? And here's that's interesting. The top 4 priorities of audiences, of the people who receive the presentation is number 1, they want to be led. Number 1 is they want to be led through a discovery. They need someone who takes them by their hand virtually, literally, and guides them through a process of where do we stand, where do we want to get. They want to see what is possible. So we are back to educating with new ideas. But they also want to be listened to, and they want to see what is an ROI case, how can it be quantified. Why do you think that one is a struggle?
So I think this is the biggest struggle, the biggest struggle, because simply, as you mentioned, sir, so simply what they need to do is that they need to pay attention to the one that's conducting the presentation. That's the thing. So what happens is that simply, okay, when it's just you're doing this online, then simply at the end of the day, you as a presenter, you're not seeing the people, you're not seeing them. Sometimes would be a bit harder because simply, okay, once you're just looking at their faces, you can understand them. You can somehow build a sort of impression about their character. That's one thing. So, and then somehow this will work so that you can grab their attention. That's one thing. But what happens is that when you're just doing this online, there are different things. First of all, you're not sure whether they're just listening. You're not seeing them. You're not seeing their expressions, as you mentioned. So you're not seeing whether you're just listening or not. They can simply just participate in the meeting, but simply at the end of the day, they're just on mute. They're just not listening to it at all. That's one thing. And the third thing that simply could be that, for example, they're seeing the meeting and then listening to them, and then their baby, for example, cried or someone called on them. So they will need just immediately just to leave it and then just go and then talk to them and then see what needs to be done. So making them listening to this would be a bit difficult. Something that could be something such as the technology. So their internet is a bit slow and they cannot see the camera, so they are just not seeing it. Those are different things that are just when it comes to doing it online. But anyway, just this was one thing. Thank you.
Yeah, Mohammed, great points. Thank you. There's another big point that is part of it. So when we see that the audience wants to be listened to, and what we actually saw when we then thought, okay, what are the priorities of the audience and what are the struggle of the presenter? And we go to the listening, so the number 42, if you see that, it's the following. Because of all the technology and everything, the presenters got so busy that they want to present all their things that they forget to listen to the audience. So when you see these 4 aspects here, and you see the dark blue is what the audiences are looking for, and the red is how the presenters are struggling. So the gap that you see here, that is your opportunity. So if you focus on leading your audiences towards educating them to something, show them what's possible that they didn't know, listen well, and even able to quantify how do business results look like. You do what the majority doesn't do well online. So you see there is this divergence between what your audience wants and what on the other side the sellers are struggling with. Ferraz, I'm seeing your point here in the chat where you say about the prerequisite before pitching a new idea. Does it refer to the research piece or where does it relate to?
I think this was from the earlier point that are people interested in listening to someone who's new to them or a stranger? So some people say, oh, if this guy is presenting from this sort of organization, then the immediate trust primes the audience to accept ideas versus someone who's not familiar can make them more resistant to buying the idea. Now, this was from the earlier point. It was just a question.
It's a huge point, Ferraz. Thank you for highlighting it. And if I may take it back to the 4 why, you can almost bring it into the resonate. It's the first one, because this is what will get you the attention. And one key aspect here is a reference. So if you reach out to someone and you get it through an introduction, you make sure you mention that name first. So if the audience reads that name that is known, it will get the attention. So it's part of the first element. Otherwise, people wouldn't even read. I want to ask for your approval briefly. I see it's 2 minutes over. How much flexibility, Maya, Nesma, and audience, is there in terms of timing?
As long as everyone stays, you can keep going as long as they're comfortable.
Okay. So it's okay. Good. Thank you. That's appreciate the flexibility. I think we will need another 5 to 10 minutes if that is acceptable. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for your time, everyone. And Maya, thank you for your approval and flexibility. Now you asked about leadership, and we looked at presentation, challenges, opportunities in it. And there is one element, we call it the take the lead model. Take the lead in virtual selling. And taking the lead consists, again, easy today, of 4 aspects. So we had the 4 why. Why act, why now, why you, why trust. And now we have another 4 elements. Your 4 virtual selling, or you call it virtual presenting imperatives. First one, we have to connect. So if we want to connect in a virtual environment, we have to project professionalism even virtually. We have to orchestrate the conversation. Who else is there? Sometimes there's more stakeholders, more people attending these virtual sessions than previously. If you talk to your colleagues or you look at yourself, most of us have now more meetings than ever before in a virtual. So it might be that you have more people attending. And thirdly, developing rapport. How can you connect virtually and build rapport? Point number 2 is you have to engage. So once you build rapport and you connect it successfully, you want to capture the attention and maintain the engagement. You want to inspire visually, because that's the only thing that your audience sees. You can't control the environment of your audience. So earlier, I think Mohammed was saying if the baby is crying or the dog is coming or the delivery is knocking on the door, all these things are out of your control. But you can control the screen. You have to inspire virtually and then collaborate, facilitate so that everyone gets involved. Figure out what are the technology items, whether it's the annotate function on Zoom, whether it's the virtual breakout room to create groups. Prepare and eventually continue to influence. Now, we could probably have one webinar on each one of those, but there's 2 things that I want to share with you today to help you when you apply your presentations virtually. And the first one is, and that's why I highlighted in red, is we have to be more intentional about. We have to be more intentional about, because face-to-face, so many things happen intuitive. We had the coffee shops, we built rapport. If there was a mistake or we forgot some information, we could compensate through your personality there on the ground. But now virtual, you know what audiences tell me? They say, Daniel, don't tell me, show me. You have to be prepared. You have to arrive at these sessions to show something. So there are so many, the environment has changed, the focus, the preparation. And the big key in all of that is the following. Next slide is important, dear audience. Whereas previously we focused all on that meeting, now we really have to focus on the before and the after. Now we really have to make an effort now to build up steam and build the momentum before and carry it on after, so that once you arrive at the meeting, you have some rapport already. There is some information already. And when your audience says, I have a hard stop, and these kind of things that you hear, that you really use the meeting for anything that cannot happen outside the meeting. Any collaboration, interaction, because remember, the best ones educate with new ideas. And in order to do that, we have to prepare. So one sort of homework or encouragement for you, not a homework, but an encouragement for you is the following. When you leave today's session is to think, what could I do more before and what could I do more after? Maybe you can share one or two ideas briefly here, so we all get the same idea on what it is about. And I'd like to ask someone whom I haven't spoken with today. I haven't spoken with Abed, Tasneem, Nabil, Asmai, Osama. Mina is there again. Mina, thank you for coming back. We spoke last year. Aya, Mohammed, Abdullah.
Yes.
Yes, who said yes? Yes, came from Abdullah?
Yes.
Okay, Abdullah, thank you. Abdullah, thank you for joining us today. Abdullah, give us one suggestion, one idea, it could be anything. What is it that we could do before a meeting in order to build momentum, to connect more effectively?
We can send an agenda before the meeting.
I love it. Brilliant. Of course, we can send an agenda. A nice one.
And if there's a certain theme for the meeting, let's say if it's a sales meeting, then part of the agenda or something we can add in the appendix, some pictures of the product or some, some eye-attracting information about the specs of the product, features of the product, for example.
Beautiful. And depending, if you allow me, I will add to that, depending what products you are selling, if it's feasible, send the product. Send the real product to the client or to your audience, home or office, so that when you are virtual, they can play around with it. And you can look at it, you explain it. Nice idea, Abdullah. Thank you. Anyone else? I see Hala and Mohammed, you are there, but you have to wait a second, please, because I want to ask someone else who I haven't spoken with yet today. Serene, are you there?
Hi, Daniel. Yes, I'm here.
Serene, thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you. Serene, I've asked you two things. You can choose. Either what is one thing you could do before the meeting in order to make the actual meeting more productive? Or if you want, what could you do after to maintain the momentum?
So before the meeting, I would definitely review the items that I need to be discussing during the meeting. So maybe I'll go through previous emails that, discuss what we want to talk about the meeting, just to have a few notes down. After the meeting, what I would do is follow up with the person that, if necessary, of course, so just to follow up with the person if there are any points we need to rediscuss again, or if I need something from this person, then definitely I have to follow up after the meeting. Not really right after, but just to give them some time, maybe, a day or two, follow up and see, when they'll get back.
Excellent one, Serene. Thank you for adding your contribution to both in pre and post. I'm seeing Ferris there coming in, designing a catchy flyer. Fantastic, because we were saying, make it visually inspired. Mohammed is coming in there after the meeting. A thank you email and any feedback. All right. So follow up, feedback, and send preparation material. Hala, thank you for that. Preparation material is super. Anything that you can add to make it a little more physical than it is right now is beautiful if your company, your product, your services lend themselves for it. Super.
So, so just one thing. The thing is that this simply could be turned around. This could simply carry a negative impact, because simply people could just start looking into this and not attending the meeting, or just turn up for the meeting, just leave the meeting and then start reading it. So this could also come with a negative impact. That's the thing.
Yeah, it could, and thank you for raising that. The fact is that if you did it, ideally, then you would need to build your meeting agenda around that. You build it around that they need to play with it in case you go in the business of selling pens, that they need to use it during our session, and they have to try it and let you know how it is. So if you send it before, the idea is, yes, give instructions. Good point. You have to give instructions so people know what to do with it. All right, nice ones. So the preparation piece is important. Connect previously. So for the purpose of today, key is the meeting starts well ahead in advance of the meeting, and it carries on well after it finished. So two things quickly.
So just one thing. So just want to share one thing. So just before the meeting, just one thing that's really important is that for the presenter to know the people that are attending the meeting, and then for the people attending the meeting to know the presenter. That's a very good thing, because what happens is the following. Simply, the thing that could be done that could be really important is that somehow I just make them interested in attending the meeting. So first of all, just sharing with them information about the presenter, sharing with them information about the meeting, about the information that will be shared. So somehow they come prepared and come interested in this. And also maybe just one thing that could be nice. Okay, just if you just want to send anything that you want to be discussed through the meeting, so send it before. So simply for the presenter to be prepared. And also this would be good just to tailor it for the people that are attending the meeting. That's one thing. To tailor the meeting for them. That's one thing. And also during the meeting, it's really nice that simply somehow the presenter should be keeping the somehow how the people are feeling. So, for example, the people somehow could just somehow get bored, get tired, they get hungry. They need just to somehow so the presenter needs to keep of this. So, okay, maybe just, okay, let's take a break, just go eat something, maybe somehow stand up if they just get tired. Do you want to sit down? And then all of this. After the meeting, it's really important just to keep a sort of contact, because this is really good. It's just developing the relationship with the people attending the meeting. That's really important. So somehow just, okay, this is the contact information, just feel free to contact me anytime. And this would be really good for them just to come up with something at the end of the meeting. So that's one just what
Thank you. I took note of that, especially the follow-up, this relationship building that continues afterwards. That was a great point. And one way of doing that is by reaching out individually. If you had a group attending, to reach out individually. Now, another point is to do it well. I have to carry on more.
Just one thing.
Who scheduled 1 hour, if that's okay.
Sure. Just one thing. One last thing about this. So also, just keeping contact information after the meeting. This could be just somehow keep a sort of good impact of the meeting itself, because people could be interested in just following up with the topics or the information discussed in the meeting. So this just, okay, if you're just at the end of the meeting, just, okay, this is the contact information, feel free to contact me. Then this somehow would make them just leave the meeting with more interested in following up.
Carry on, Moment, we got it. Okay, we carry on.
Okay,
we get a problem with everyone else who was on the call today. So
okay, thank you.
The takeaway really is to be deliberate and make time. You have to make extra time and space to make it happen. And as far as setting the stage is concerned, there's two things. We recognize there can be bandwidth issues. There could be things that are out of our control. So whatever you can control, you can control. And for anything you can't, try to prepare and anticipate. Just make sure you're avoiding the I'm not a cat situation. Now, if you have a very last thing, I want to give you a very last thing on your way before we conclude, and I rushed it a bit quicker. It is the attention piece, the attention and engagement, because it came so often. And the trick or the technique that I want to share with you here is the so-called 30+3. And what it does is, and the good news is it's the last piece of information today after the 4 why, the 4 imperatives, the preparation, the 30+3 is the following. There is something, we call it the engagement threshold. That is when you capture the attention and how you keep the attention. And the engagement threshold in a video conference is much higher than in a face-to-face environment. Plus, we have so many people attending, so other participants in your meeting could hide behind others. So what the technique really is that you have to consider 30+3. What does it mean? Within the first 30 seconds of your presentation, do something that captures the attention, gets your people involved. After every 3 minutes, make sure you check in with your audience. Ask them a question, do a poll, let them co-share on the screen or anything. So the key is really, in order to keep attention and engagement, first 30 seconds, think of a James Bond movie. They start in the beginning, either jumping out of a plane or anything that gets you the attention. And only then later, they say what the movie is about. So first 30 seconds, do something, and then every 3 minutes again. Dear team, fast forward for today, and I rushed it now, forgive me for that, and I'm sorry for my time, for my horrible timekeeping, is the following. Number 1, to be among the winners, you have to collaborate, educate, and lead yourself. Take the initiative, take the lead. Number 2, why act, why now, why you, and why trust? Before you write any email, any LinkedIn invite, or reach out to anybody, ask yourself, why should they open or read or respond? Why should they do it now? Why to you, and how can they trust you? Last one, before the creating time, before and after. That is where you amplify the impact and increase the likelihood to succeed. And lastly, 30+3. Dear team, you have made it, dear audience. Thank you for today. I know that some of you have to rush now because I went over, but I stay on for a couple of more minutes in case any one of you has any question. It's my pleasure to assist you with that. Other than that, for those who have to rush, I'd like to thank you for showing up, for spending time, for participating on the Menti, on the chat, and verbally. And I wish you good luck, success, and keep well and safe. Thank you.